I thought it would be a great time to make a video about pitching your book to professionals, whether that be at a pitch slam, even though right now conferences are kind of on hold, but still, or in the Pitmad that is coming up in September, where I found my editor last year. So stay tuned if you want to talk about pitching. Hello, my name is Jennifer Aline. I am the mother of twin girls, a freelance writer, social media manager, and my debut novel, That Age, is coming out winter of 2020-2021. Last year at this time, I had just gotten back from the 2019 Writer's Digest Conference and Pitch Slam, and I talked about this a bazillion times in videos because I love conferences, and I honestly love pitch slams as well. Even though they can be nerve-wracking, they're still kind of really fun. Also, not long after I returned back, it was the September hashtag Pitmad on Twitter, and I often take part in the Twitter pitch contests because they're fun. It's a good way to connect with agents and editors in the field. It's also a good way to just see what other books are being pitched out there, what other agents and editors are finding interesting and what they want on their manuscript wish list. So today we're going to talk about these two ways that you can pitch your book to professionals in the field, starting off with pitch slams. Kermit's up here again, trying to get a hold of the curtains. I don't know what a pitch slam is. It is usually part of a conference or a workshop or a retreat where there's a whole bunch of tables set up in the room, and you pitch your manuscript to agents and editors hoping they will request it. Now, people like to compare it to speed dating for agents and editors, and honestly, that is kind of exactly what it is. What you do is you walk into this room and a little bell goes off. When you're standing in front of this professional, you have 3 minutes. Really, you want a minute and a half to pitch your book, grab their attention, make sure that they want to read more. And you don't want to take the full 3 minutes explaining and pitching your book because you want to talk to this person. You want to interact with them, show them you're a real person. So you have a minute and a half to pitch your book, about another minute and a half to talk to this professional, hopefully get their card requesting some material before the bell rings. When the bell rings, you go wait in line or you jump at another table for an agent or an editor that takes your genre and age category. Often would jump at whatever table you could that was free or had a short line because you only have an hour and you want to get to as many people as you can. And it's nerve-wracking, but it's so exciting, especially when you walk away with a few or all yeses. And even if in the end they don't take you, it shows that you're moving forward in a positive way. Jump into some advice that I have for you when it comes to pitch slams if in the future you want to take part in them. One is research. Usually ahead of time, you get a list of what agents and editors are going to be there. You want to know who's going to be there, what table they're going to be at before you walk in. You don't want to walk in, look around, and waste time. You can't waste time. So make sure you know at least 5 to 7 that you want to go to, making sure they take your genre and age category. You don't want to be a romance writer and go to somebody who only takes middle grade or something like that. You want to find ones that want your book. 2, memorize your pitch. You can come in with a little card if you want to kind of glance down, and that's fine. But honestly, when you're there, you're not going to want to stare at a card or your hand or a paper the entire time. Try your best to practice and memorize what you're going to say before you get there. And though some people do say bring a card, it's good to practice with a card. I practiced a whole bunch of times with a card, but when I got there, I just sat right down in the chair, looked at the person, and pitched my book. Number 3 is be natural. Don't go in there, read from the card, and be robotic. Show the agent or editor that you're a real person. You're not just a robot. They're not going to want to work with somebody who is robotic and boring. They want to work with somebody who's a human being. So really just show them your personality. Show them who you are. Be natural. If you're a little bit nervous, that's human. Just be yourself, be prepared, and have fun. Piece of advice I'm going to give you is make your pitch quick and catchy. Like I said, usually in these pitch slams, you have 3 minutes, and you want to take about a minute and a half to get that person interested. Make it quick, and catchy. You want to grab their attention. When I went to my pitch slams, I often said the line that I said at the beginning of my query letter, and in my Pitmad hashtags as well, I often would say the first line, this is about that age, and one of the characters, I would say, friend is sleeping around in hopes of getting knocked up. That grabbed their attention. I would laugh and say, oh, wow, and they wanted to hear more. And I did well in these pitch slams. I was myself. I think in 2016, there were 2 out of the 7 who weren't interested. And in 2019, I went to 6 of them, and they were all interested. They all requested partial or full manuscripts. So it worked out really well. And just be yourself and have fun. Fun. On to Pitmad. If you don't know what Pitmad is, it is a pitch contest that is on Twitter. And Twitter is huge. I've said it a million times that Twitter is where you should be, especially if you want to be traditionally published. Agents and editors are everywhere, all over Twitter. Small presses. You can find so many small presses that way. Collegiate presses, publishers, everything. Twitter is a huge hub for this industry. And Twitter has one of their pitch contests is called Pitmad. And that is a little contest that goes on 4 times a year where you have the chance to pitch your story 3 times between 8 in the morning and 8 at night, 4 times a year, if that makes sense. And the one coming up, I believe, is September 3rd. So it's in about a week from when this video is made. Last year, when I got back from the conference, I took part in Pitmad in September. And even though I had done really well at the conference and I was in the process of sending the requests off to the agents that requested material, I jumped in because it's fun and it's a great way to possibly get connected with a professional. And it worked pretty well. I did get my small press editor last year in September through Pitmad. We didn't expect a pandemic. We didn't expect all that we've gotten going on in this year. So things have been pushed a little bit, just like they've been pushed with a lot of publishing houses and whatnot. So even though I was picked up, things are moving a little slower than we expected. But still, it is possible to get picked up through Pitmad. I'm going to give you some advice that I personally think is helpful and also read to you what my tweets were for Pitmad. Also might want to go on the website, which if you just type in hashtag Pitmad, and you can even put Pitch Wars, the website will show up. And I'll put it down below in the comments so you can check it out. You will want to see all the hashtags that are available. You'll want to see some of the details. The more hashtags you put in there, the more interest that an agent or an editor might have in your story. And you always want to put hashtag Pitmad. That brings me to my first piece of advice. Before you even put your first tweet out, put a tweet to everybody else that follows you, asking them politely not to like your tweets that have Pitmad in it the next day. I say this because when an agent or an editor likes that tweet, they're going to like it, meaning they're going to press the heart. From there, you go to their page and it tells you what they want you to send them. If somebody on your list, a friend or a family member or a follower, anybody, likes those tweets, you're immediately going to get excited thinking an agent or an editor liked you and wanted your stuff. And even though it's nice to have friends and family members who like your book, this day you want to strictly keep those tweets for the professionals. So kindly, what I did last year at this time specifically, I think I did it in September and then the one before, I asked people not to like those tweets unless they're an agent or editor, and I appreciated their support. You also probably want to prep your tweets the night before so you can just copy and paste them at the certain times. Make sure they're each a little bit different, but also kind of the same. You want the general idea of your story to be out there. And snappy, catchy, just like I said about the pitch slam I was talking about. I will read to you my first tweet that I put out last year for Pitmad. This is for that age that was picked up by an editor last year. Being around trying to get knocked up. Lainey is trying to avoid her family and avoid love. Delilah is struggling with postpartum depression. 5 years after graduation, 3 college roommates moved back in together and put their friendship to the test. Hashtag Pitmad, hashtag WF, so women's fiction. Was, I believe, my first tweet. And oopsies. I went to the wrong page. And that one got 7 retweets. I didn't get any likes, but I got retweets. And retweets are good because it shows that other authors or other people want to read that story. It also puts it back into the mix of things for other agents to check you out. So that is a newish thing, is retweeting other people's tweets. And it's cool. My first one, I got 7 retweets. That means people want to read it. Advice for Pitmad I'm going to suggest is find specific times where you're going to post. You want to kind of spread it out. I will say that I noticed more in the evening and afternoon was when I got the attention for my posts. I don't know if that was because of the time that the agents and editors were checking things out, or if it was because of the specific post. I think that my first one, because it has that sentence that I always use, really, I liked that sentence the best. But I think time is important. So what I would suggest is maybe mid-morning, 8, 9, 10, do your first one, because early ones sometimes can get lost. And honestly, I would suggest maybe not even putting your best tweet first, because from what I've noticed, later on in the evening and night is when they get noticed. The second one you might want around noon, 1 or 2, middle of the day. And the third one, try it out in the evening, 6, 7, 8. I wouldn't do 8 because that's very, very late. Maybe 6, 7, 7:30. So really, next piece of advice before I read my second tweet, and that is comp titles. Use comp titles when you are posting your tweets. Those get a lot of interest, and they allow the agents and editors to compare, obviously, your book to ones that have done well or other shows or movies that have done well. So this was my second tweet. Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants meets New Girl. 3 college roommates decide to move back in together 5 years after graduation. However, with Corinne sleeping around, Lainey embracing her sexuality, and Delilah facing PPD, things may be trickier than expected. Hashtag Pitmad, hashtag women's fiction. So I use titles of Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants and New Girl, the show New Girl, which I love, for that age. And this had a retweet, and the press that took me on, and I'm with currently, liked it. So that was the first like from that editor. Advice I'm going to give you, I've kind of said already, but grab their attention. I think that that really shows your personality, and it shows some interest, because if you just get right to the point and don't really relate in a way, I related with sex, and then I also put, I think, mojitos in here. I put drinking in the next one. If you do something that is relatable and real and raw, those are the R's I always use when it comes to my writing, it shows that you're human. Again, it's interesting, it's catchy, it's fun. Include that in your tweets. I know there's not a lot of space to do that, but be yourself and show your tweet of Pitmad last year, and this is what it said. Mates move back in together 5 years after college graduation. Adulthood forces them to decide whether to follow the plans they've set for themselves or follow fate. There's some sex, some family drama, some internal struggle, and a whole lot of mojitos. Hashtag Pitmad, hashtag women's fiction, WF. So that one in mojitos and family drama, things that are relatable, things that'll catch your attention. 2 retweets and 4 likes. So I got requests from 4 different either agents or editors with this tweet. 2 of them were small presses and 2 of them were literary agents. So it shows that grabbing the attention and being catchy and relatable, it does help in a way. So that was my 3rd tweet. Take part in Pitmad in September, that some of these tips helped you out. I know that in the last virtual AuthorTube retreat that I talked about this, but I thought it would be important since this is coming up. I also hope that pitch slams come back and conferences come back and they're not all virtual, because doing a pitch slam, it's really life-changing. It really ups your confidence, ups your public speaking, and it could get you an agent or an editor. So that too. Sticking around and listening today. If you like this kind of content, subscribe below, hit the thumbs up button. I post stuff like this every Friday, and the occasional pop-up video here and there as well. So thank you so much. Stay creative and drink that coffee.